Have you ever reached behind your back to tuck in your shirt, reach your back pocket, or even just scratch between your shoulder blades and felt pain in the shoulder? It's one of the most common complaints we see in the clinic. The problem is that most people are told to simply stretch it, which sometimes helps. But if stretching hasn't fixed it, there's probably a reason. I want to explain why this movement hurts, what your shoulder actually needs, and then show you a step-by-step progression that addresses the most common limitations. The first thing you need to understand is that reaching behind your back isn't just one movement. It's a combination of movements, including shoulder extension, shoulder internal rotation, shoulder blade movement, and thoracic mobility. All of these pieces have to work together. If one of them is not doing their job, other areas have to compensate. Sometimes that is enough to create pain. For some people, the shoulder joint itself is just stiff. For others, the rotator cuff isn't controlling the joint well. Sometimes the shoulder blade isn't moving efficiently, and sometimes the upper back simply doesn't have enough extension or mobility. That's why there isn't a single stretch or one magic exercise that fixes everyone. The best results usually come from figuring out which of the pieces you're missing. The first thing we can look at is thoracic mobility, which is your upper back. If your thoracic spine doesn't move well, your shoulder has to work much harder to make up for it. That extra stress often shows up during movements like reaching behind your back. Spend a few minutes improving your thoracic mobility before moving on to the shoulder itself. You don't need to force anything. The goal is simply to help your back move a little more freely. The next thing we want to look at is the obvious, shoulder mobility. Many people immediately just grab a towel and aggressively pull their arm further up their back, which is sometimes appropriate. But if it's painful, forcing the movement usually is not the answer. It's just going to irritate it and cause more of a regression. Instead, work through comfortable ranges of motion and gradually build confidence there. Your goal isn't to see how far you can push it. Your goal is to help your shoulder become more comfortable moving through that range. The next thing we'll look at is rotator cuff strength, which is the part that a lot of people skip. Mobility is important, but mobility without strength rarely lasts. The rotator cuff works to move the shoulder through a variety of ranges, but it also works to keep the ball centered in the socket and stable. If it isn't doing that well, your body often responds by making certain positions more uncomfortable. Light resistance is all you need. Focus on slow, controlled movements with good technique. Remember, you're training control, not just strength. Next, we'll look at shoulder blade control. Your shoulder blade provides the foundation that your shoulder moves on. If it isn't moving well or the muscles around it aren't working together, the shoulder joint often has to compensate. Exercises that improve shoulder blade control can reduce unnecessary stress on the shoulder while making movements feel smoother and stronger. The last thing we're going to do is actually practice the movement. Remember, your body adapts to the stresses that you place on it. If reaching behind your back is painful, eventually your rehab needs to include reaching behind your back. Start with a comfortable range. Repeat it several times. As it becomes easier, slowly reach a little farther. Then add resistance if appropriate. You're not just improving flexibility, you're teaching your body that this movement is safe and something you can confidently control. If you found this video helpful, let me know in the comment what other movements or activities give you the most trouble so we can make our next video. And if you'd like a complete step-by-step rehab program built around these same principles, check out activeindependentrehab.com using the link in the description. Let's get moving.